My name is Jeanine Wright, and I am the CEO of Inception Point AI.
And what does Inception Point AI do, and how do you make shows?
Inception Point AI designs AI-generated personalities and then launches them into the world as 360 creators. And we create AI-generated content on their behalf across multiple different platforms. And we've started and grown up in audio. In the process, we built what we believe to be the world's largest independent podcast company by show count.
From the reviews that I've seen of your work, I'm wondering whether you're being judged a bit too much on the early stuff which is there and not necessarily some of the stuff which is there now.
I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, obviously, that's part of what I said in my piece that we posted. Yeah, I mean, at this point, we've created more than 160,000 episodes. And we've been doing it for more than 2 years. We were very early in experimenting with AI. This was early in our own capabilities and early in AI's capabilities. And a lot of the stuff at the beginning, I mean, frankly, it really sucks. You know, we go back and listen to it and we cringe. But I understand this is a very common thing. I've been working with creators in the podcasting space for many years, and pretty much without fail, everyone is embarrassed about their first episodes, their first season, right? Because it takes a while to get practice and to get good. But I've also been candid that even some of the stuff that we make today might not be good, right? We still do a lot of experimentation, and some of it lands and some of it doesn't. And some of the stuff I really love, and some of the stuff doesn't do it for me, but it does it for other people. And all of those things are okay.
I'm kind of looking at some of the ones that you have been promoting recently. There are very few listener reviews on there. There's one listener review for Bloom and Banter, which is hosted by Nigel Thistledown, somebody with an accent almost as ridiculous as mine. And that review isn't particularly positive, shall we say? I'm wondering how many people are. I mean, frankly, is this an SEO play? Are you there flooding podcast directories with content and hoping that people find that content, in terms of SEO, or are you actually seeing people coming back again and again?
Well, we're definitely seeing people coming back again and again, which is why we're leaning into many of our personalities. I don't know if it's fair to say like flooding with SEO. There's lots of businesses that make content based on what people are wanting and searching for. And perhaps that's been a problem with the way that we've been doing podcasting in the past. I mean, at some of the companies that I was at previously, you would make this beautiful, brilliant, incredible show, and then title it something that nobody has ever heard of. And then you would have to spend huge amounts of money to invest in telling people that you made this show and this is the title of this show. And then they would go and they would have to type in to, candidly, what are these like rudimentary search directories that a lot of these podcast platforms have. And you would hope and pray that they typed in exactly what you titled this show so that they could try and find that. And that was part of what drove up the content production, marketing, and talent costs of making content under this traditional model, which has resulted in, I mean, really a widespread, I don't mean to be dramatic, but extinction event across our industry, where we're seeing, Stitcher and Gimlet and Wondery layoffs and, Odyssey. And I mean, these companies that are just not finding sustainable business models to continue to produce original content or even, partner content profitably, right? So yes, I mean, if I'm going to make, I know I've said this before, if I'm going to make a podcast about whales, we title it Whales, because that way when people are looking for content on Whales, they can find our content.
Yeah, it's the Max Cutler way of titling a show, isn't it? He had a serial killers show which was called Serial Killers, and yeah, absolutely,
exactly, yeah. And then it also means, because our time to production is dramatically less and our costs of production are less, it means that we can surf trends much better than traditional podcasting organizations. So a week ago, when Charlie Kirk was shot, we had content about Charlie Kirk up. We had a living biography. We had a new show about his assassination up within an hour. So when people typed Charlie Kirk into Apple and Spotify, we were 3 of the top 5 shows, even beating out the Daily Mail. The only one that was beating us was the Charlie Kirk show. So that means that we're able to meet a need for content that people want, that they're looking for in that moment. And that has not really ever been part of the commercial podcast business model until now. When his assassin was arrested, we had a new episode up within 15 minutes.
Did a human being check that first?
When we are producing political or news-related content, we especially when it's new shows that we are launching, we listen to the content before it launches. And it's part of the reason why we haven't leaned into news and politics quite yet, is because I think there still needs to be human review and I'm not even going to say editorializing, but still AI is not so great at always capturing the tone of the moment. And when you are crafting personalities that you want to be complex, you have crafted into these personalities things like senses of humor and flaws and weaknesses and things. And so sometimes they don't always treat sensitive topics with enough sensitivity. They don't strike exactly the right chord. And so as we think about news and politics, we are figuring out how do we build the right infrastructure that still leverages AI and still is consistent with our model, but mitigates the risk of getting it wrong. And that probably means that we need to have a well-known news person who is reviewing that content before it was released and is making sure that we're striking that we're getting it right and striking the right tone.
Yeah. So human review there is important, but human review for a podcast about whether it's knitting or about gardening isn't necessarily as important.
Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of levels of risk, right, associated with the different content. I mean, so we think about which ones need to be much more curated and where we need to be much more careful. And then we also really examine and stay on top of what are the capabilities of the tools, right? AI still struggles with numbers, right? I would not rely on AI to do your math homework, right? So when we're thinking about current, like what are the topics that we want to cover, we lean into the things that we know that AI is really good at, for which we are less concerned about, any potential downside risk. If it's giving, health and wellness advice, we're going to want to make sure that we're doing more to pull from multiple different sources and mitigate against hallucinations, and that somebody is involved in listening and reviewing the content before it's released. But yeah, I mean, I'm releasing 3,000 episodes a week and I have 8 people on my team. There's no way we're listening to all the content. There's no way we're listening to the overwhelming majority of our content before it's released.
There's one podcast directory out there removing AI-generated podcasts from its directory. What's your thought on that?
I think that it's an antiquated thinking. I think that in very short amount of time, if I can make yet another bold prediction, that'll probably cause stir.
You're not going to upset more people, are you?
That seems to be my thing lately. I think that in a very short amount of time, and I would predict certainly less than 24 months and probably less than 12, AI will become the default tool for creating content. And this conversation around is it AI or not, transparency or not, will go away the same way that this happened with, digital photography and photo editing, right? I mean, now nobody makes a disclosure like this picture was taken with a digital camera and was edited after the fact, right? Everybody knows people use digital photography and photo editing. And in fact, nowadays you make a disclosure when something is not captured. You would say, this is made on traditional 35 millimeter and is not edited, right? Because that's then the thing that's special about it. Already, there was a survey on YouTube where 92% of creators said that they're using AI in their creative process.
Yeah. And I think that there's a difference between using AI as part of your creative process and a difference between using AI as the only part of your creative process.
Well, we're not using AI as the only part of our creative process. And I think that is a very, very nuanced conversation that people don't realize. So right now the standard is, it's been relayed to us and we're kind of following as the community guidelines. If you use AI, it is a material portion of your content. You need to include a disclosure. So we're AI transparent. We include disclosures in all of our content. I know you referenced that.
You didn't do that at the beginning, and now you do. Why did you change your view there?
We we were limited because we have so many episodes. We were limited by the API call capacity. To be able to dynamically update all of our content. So we were not able to go back quickly to do it with all of our back catalog. But now we were able to build out the process in order to do that. So now if you go through and you see all of our show notes, it's now in all of our content.
Yeah, but you didn't when you started, I guess, is the question. So why did you change your mind and start disclosing that it was AI generated?
You mean like it's 2 years ago when people first started making content? Well, I mean, to be clear, not all of the content that you hear from 2 years ago is AI generated. Many of it is in the voices of people who are on our team. Some of it we went back and then replaced with synthetic voices and personalities that we designed. I mean, at the time, I don't even think people were thinking about how would you make an AI disclosure or not. So, I mean, we've adopted and evolved as the industry evolved. And now I think we're really proud of the way that we're leading the way in transparency. All of our personalities, we have some clever prompt engineering around how we have them do their AI disclosure so that they say that they're AI, but they do it in a way that sells the benefit of having a host that is an AI personality. And from our data, we find, very little, sometimes immeasurable drop off after our AI disclosure. So our read is that if people like the personality and they like the content, they don't care that it's AI.
In the same way as there's an explicit tag in podcasting, where you can mark if you use saucy language or adult discussions, some people have been calling for an AI tag to help audiences or advertisers programmatically filter out majority AI content. What's your view on that?
I think that we're in a moment. Well, I mean, first of all, I think that some people are trying to capitalize on the fear around this conversation to make news for themselves. So the conversation is, if you have people who are really thoughtfully engaging in this conversation, I think the conversation is much more complicated, right? Because if you're using, ChatGPT to make a script, but you're actually reading that into the mic, is that materially AI generated? If you're actually write the script, but you use a synthetic voice. Is that material AI generated? If you're doing an interview and it's a real person that's interviewing a digital person, is that AI generated, material AI generated? It's getting to the point now where it's so nuanced. I mean, I've actually had people reach out to me that some of these people who are in this space making commentary that, oh, I can't believe they're doing this, or they need to have disclosure, or, more disclosure. Advertisers aren't going to want this, right? I have people behind the scenes emailing me saying, I work at this company and we're using AI in our process, right? And basically every podcast that I'm doing, some people, going for the jugular, asking me the tough questions about controversy in this space. And then we get off the call and then they say, how do you think that I could better use AI in my process to make my process more efficient? Or could you all recreate my voice? And what would that sound like? And maybe I could actually take a vacation sometime, right? There's the creators are going to be, this is the most powerful creative tool that the world has ever seen. And creators are going to be leaning in to this technology very quickly. And this conversation is going to go by the wayside. But in the meantime, as people are interested in, we will follow the guidelines as to as much disclosure as you want us to have. The reality is we've not heard any pushback from any advertiser ever. And we are not finding that we're missing out on audiences.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.